Something powerful happens when a child of God seeks to know more about Him and His beloved Son. Nowhere are those truths taught more clearly and powerfully than in the Book of Mormon.
God always provides safety for the soul, and with the Book of Mormon, He has again done that in our time. Remember this declaration by Jesus Himself: "Whoso treasureth up my word shall not be deceived. And in the last days, neither your heart nor your faith will fail you."
Chapter 19. Gideon slays King Noah. The Lamanites invade the land. King Noah suffers death by fire. Limhi rules as a tributary monarch about 145 to 121 BC. So, 10-second recap. Alma hears Abinadi, asks King Noah not to kill Abinadi. King Noah then turns his target onto Alma also. Alma takes off, starts teaching people the gospel by the waters of Mormon, baptizes 204 people at the waters of Mormon, and then 450 people take off because they are tipped off that King Noah found out about them and wants them all killed. So he's going to go attack. So they take off. And it came to pass that the army of the king returned, having searched in vain for the people of the Lord. And now, behold, the forces of the king were small, having been reduced, and there began to be a division among the remainder of the people. And the lesser part began to breathe out threatenings against the king, and there began to be a great contention among them. So basically, the people that were left in King Noah's reign, in his little kingdom, started to wake up and be upset because they were the ones that had to do all the work to support King Noah in his riotous living. And even the people, he had a small army, it says, that went to go find all these people that are the new converts that Alma has taught the gospel to. And among the very few that were even left in King Noah's kingdom, they started to have division among them too. And now there was a man among them whose name was Gideon, and he being a strong man and an enemy to the king, therefore he drew his sword and swore in his wrath that he would slay the king. And it came to pass that he fought with the king, and when the king saw that he was about to overpower him, he fled and ran and got upon the tower which was near the temple. And Gideon pursued after him and was about to get up upon the tower to slay the king. And the king cast his eyes round about towards the land of Shemlon, and behold, the army of the Lamanites were within the borders of the land. So this is symbolic to me that King Noah, first off, ran and climbed a tower trying to get away from somebody. Like he literally backed himself into a corner, backed himself into a tower, which is symbolic of how he lived his entire life. His own choices isolated him. He chose evil, he chose wickedness, he killed righteous people, and he had no protection from the Lord. He lost it. He lost the Spirit, and he lost the things that he knew to be true because he became numb to it because of sin. And so he runs, climbs this tower. Gideon's chasing after him. He wants to kill him. Gideon is a strong man, and he hates the king. And when King Noah climbs up there, he sees all these Lamanite armies right outside the borders of the land. And now the king cried out in the anguish of his soul, saying, "Gideon, spare me, for the Lamanites are upon us, and they will destroy us. Yea, they will destroy my people." So, let's be honest, King Noah does not care about his people. He's the one that put such hard things on their back so that he could live the life that he wanted, but he cared about himself. And he didn't want to be killed, but he's trying to unite with Gideon right now against a common enemy of the Lamanites. Now the king was not so much concerned about his people as he was about his own life. There we go. Nevertheless, Gideon did spare his life. And the king commanded the people that they should flee before the Lamanites, and he himself did go before them. And they did flee into the wilderness with their women and their children. So he tells his people, you got to get out of here. The Lamanites are right at the wall, right at the border, and they're coming to come and attack us. And it came to pass that the Lamanites did pursue them and did overtake them and began to slay them. Now it came to pass that the king commanded them that all the men should leave their wives and their children and flee before the Lamanites. Now there were many that would not leave them, but had rather stay and perish with them. And the rest left their wives and their children and fled. So a lot of these men literally ran away, like took off, left their families, left their wives and their children. And it came to pass that those who tarried with their wives, that means stayed with their wives and their children, caused that their fair daughters should stand forth and plead with the Lamanites that they would not slay them. This part blows my mind, that they dared send their little girls, their daughters, and I will call teenage girls little girls because they're still little girls, to the front lines to go and plead with the Lamanites that they wouldn't slay them. That just blows my mind. Well, whoever's idea it was to send their little daughters to these front lines to charm the Lamanites, it worked. And it came to pass that the Lamanites had compassion on them, for they were charmed with the beauty of their women. Therefore the Lamanites did spare their lives and took them captives and carried them back to the land of Nephi. This is the part that I could not ever justify. But they actually just kidnapped their daughters. They took them and granted unto them that they might possess the land under the conditions that they were to deliver up King Noah into the hands of the Lamanites and deliver up their property, even one half of all they possessed, even half of their gold and their silver and their precious things. And thus they should pay tribute to the king of the Lamanites from year to year. And now there was one of the sons of the king among those that were taken captive, whose name was Limhi. And now Limhi was desirous that his father should not be destroyed. Nevertheless, Limhi was not ignorant of the iniquities of his father, he himself being a just man. So Limhi was a good man. He knew how bad his dad was. His dad was King Noah, and he knew how bad he was, but he didn't want him to be killed, even though he was so bad. And it came to pass that Gideon sent men into the wilderness secretly to search for the king and those that were with him. And it came to pass that they met the people in the wilderness, all save the king and his priests. So Gideon hates the king, and he's still seeking to destroy King Noah. Even though they're being attacked right now by the Lamanites, and they had that whole thing where the Lamanites kidnapped all their girls, their fair daughters, Gideon still really wants King Noah dead. He secretly sent a bunch of men into the wilderness to go find King Noah. And it came to pass that they met the people in the wilderness, all save the king and his priests. So they found all these people in the wilderness, but the king wasn't there and his priests weren't there. Now they had sworn in their hearts that they would return to the land of Nephi, and if their wives and their children were slain, and also those that had tarried with them, that they would seek revenge and also perish with them. And the king commanded them that they should not return, and they were angry with the king and caused that he should suffer even unto death by fire. How was King Noah just killed? By his own priests? They burned him. Death by fire. And if you caught that, what he did is these people wanted to go back and be with their wives and their children, and he wouldn't let them. So there's three little subgroups of people among the Nephites that we're reading about. The Nephites were King Noah's people. So the first group, including Limhi and Gideon, are those who stayed with their families. Okay, group number 1, in verse 18, those who stayed with their families. Group number 2, in verses 19 to 24, it is a people who returned to their families after they killed King Noah. So there were some of these priests and others that were with him, and King Noah said, you can't go back and be with your families. And they killed Noah because they didn't want him to tell them what to do anymore and keep them from their families. And so they killed King Noah and went back to their families. The third group, in verse 21, they are priests that left because they were scared. They left their families, they left everybody, their wives, their children, and just took off. And they were about to take the priests also and put them to death, and they fled before them. So that's the priest group we just talked about that took off. And it came to pass that they were about to return to the land of Nephi, and they met the men of Gideon. And the men of Gideon told them of all that had happened to their wives and their children, and the Lamanites had granted unto them that they might possess the land by paying a tribute to the Lamanites of 1/2 of all they possessed. And I forgot. And the people told the men of Gideon that they had slain the king, and his priests had fled from them farther into the wilderness. And remember, Abinadi prophesied as he's being burned alive. Now, remember, the way that King Noah was killed was exactly what Abinadi said would happen. As they were burning Abinadi alive at the stake, while he was bound, he was prophesying to them, and he actually prophesied and said to King Noah, the way that you are killing me now, you will also suffer the same death. And he did. Fulfillment of prophecy. His own men put him to death by fire. And it came to pass that after they had ended the ceremony, that they returned to the land of Nephi, rejoicing, because their wives and their children were not slain. And they told Gideon what they had done to the king. And it came to pass that the king of the Lamanites made an oath unto them, that his people should not slay them. These oaths are so intriguing to me. I wish so badly that we had people on the earth today, leaders on the earth today with enough integrity that oaths were honored. These are completely hateful, vengeful, bloodthirsty, wicked people that would keep oaths. They would just make a little promise not to go to war against somebody, or not to go take their land, or not to invade their country. And they actually held a lot of weight. I love that they could just do business via oath, promises, agreements. And also Limhi, being the son of the king, having the kingdom conferred upon him by the people, made oath unto the king of the Lamanites that his people should pay tribute unto him, even 1/2 of all they possessed. So King Limhi, who's King Noah's son, is now the king, and he agreed to the Lamanites that they will give 1/2 of everything that they have. And it came to pass that Limhi began to establish the kingdom and to establish peace among his people. And the king of the Lamanites set guards round about the land, that he might keep the people of Limhi in the land, that they might not depart into the wilderness, and he did not support. And he did support his guards out of the tribute which he did receive from the Nephites. And now King Limhi did have continual peace in his kingdom for the space of 2 years, that the Lamanites did not molest them nor seek to destroy them. So it's interesting because King Limhi was a good man. And we just kind of heard this backstory about Zenith, about King Benjamin, and now we're learning about Limhi. And Limhi wanted so bad for the people to be righteous, but Abinadi had told King Noah, because of the choices that you're making and the things that you are not teaching your people will be left in bondage. So Abinadi prophesied that too. And King Limhi was a just man and understood that because of these acts of his dad and his wicked priests and all of his little cabinet, I've called them, they have been the ones who have brought wickedness to the people. And so now the Nephites are in bondage. They have to give 1/2 of everything that they have to the Lamanites. And it says they had peace in the kingdom, in King Limhi's kingdom, for 2 years, but they still have Lamanite guards all round about, making sure that they're not doing anything that the Lamanites don't approve of. So technically, it's not like they're living in freedom at all. Chapter 20. Some Lamanite daughters are abducted by the priests of Noah. The Lamanites wage war upon Limhi and his people. The Lamanite hosts are repulsed and pacified. About 145 to 123 BC. Now there was a place in Shemlon where the daughters of the Lamanites did gather themselves together to sing and to dance and to make themselves merry. So it was kind of like a hangout, like the girls would go and hang out at this area in Shemlon. And it came to pass that there was one day a small number of them gathered together to sing and to dance. And now the priest of King Noah, being ashamed to return to the city of Nephi, yea, and also fearing that the people would slay them, therefore they durst not return to their wives and their children. So remember, there were these priests of Noah that were too afraid to go back, and they were ridiculous because they left their families, they left their wives and children and just took off because they were scared, and they didn't really want to go back. They didn't think it was going to be a good reunion, and I think they're right. And having tarried in the wilderness and having discovered the daughters of the Lamanites, they laid and watched them. And when there were but few of them gathered together to dance, they came forth out of their secret places and took them and carried them into the wilderness, yea, 24 of the daughters of the Lamanites they carried into the wilderness. So these wicked priests that left their own families and their own children came and kidnapped these beautiful Lamanite daughters and carried them away into the wilderness. And it came to pass that when the Lamanites found that their daughters had been missing, they were angry with the people of Limhi, for they thought it was the people of Limhi. So they blamed Limhi's people for taking their daughters. Therefore they sent their armies forth, yea, even the king himself went before his people, and they went up to the land of Nephi to destroy the people of Limhi. So the king of the Lamanites is really angry. He thought that Limhi, or Limhi's people, had kidnapped these Lamanite daughters. And so he goes with an army, and he, the king himself, went with an army to the land of Nephi to destroy the people of Limhi. So they're livid. They're ready for battle. And now Limhi had discovered them from the tower. Even all their preparations for war did he discover. Therefore he gathered his people together and laid wait for them in the fields and in the forests. I just wonder what Limhi was thinking at this point. He knew that they were a very controlling people, these Lamanites, but his mind is probably going through all these things of, we're doing exactly what they said to do. We're paying them our one half of everything. We're giving them everything. Why are they coming with a whole army? And he knew they were coming. He saw their preparations for war as he's up on this tower. This is Limhi we're talking about. And it came to pass that when the Lamanites had come up, that the people of Limhi began to fall upon them from their waiting places and began to slay them. And it came to pass that the battle became exceedingly sore, for they fought like lions for their prey. That line is such a powerful visual. They fought like lions for their prey. And it wasn't like there was time to talk. The Lamanites just came and went and tried to destroy Limhi and his people. And it came to pass that the people of Limhi began to drive the Lamanites before them, yet they were not half so numerous as the Lamanites. For they fought for their lives, and for their wives, and for their children. Therefore they exerted themselves, and like dragons did they fight. So the Lamanites are fighting like lions for their prey. The Nephites are fighting like dragons to protect their wives and their children. This is such an ugly battle. And it's all a miscommunication. It's all because the Lamanites believed that Limhi had stolen the daughters, had kidnapped the daughters of the Lamanites. And it came to pass that they found the king of the Lamanites among the number of their dead. Yet he was not dead, having been wounded and left upon the ground. So speedy was the flight of his people. So the Nephites actually, even though they don't have as many on their side, they're winning this battle, and they push back against the Lamanites, and they find the Lamanite king, who looks like he's dead, but he's actually just wounded, but he's left basically with all the dead. And they took him and bound up his wounds, so they helped him, and brought him before Limhi, and said, Behold, here's the king of the Lamanites. He, having received a wound, has fallen among their dead. And they have left him, and behold, we have brought him before you, and now let us slay him. So these Nephite soldiers bring the king of the Lamanites to King Limhi and says, he was hurt, we helped his wounds, but can we just kill him now? But Limhi said unto them, Ye shall not slay him, but bring him hither that I may see him. So bring him to me. And they brought him, and Limhi said unto him, What cause have ye to come up to war against my people? So he asks him, Why are you coming to battle? Why did you come to fight us? Behold, my people have not broken the oath which I made unto you. Therefore, why should ye break the oath which ye made unto my people? I didn't break my promise. Why did you break yours? And now the king said, I have broken the oath because thy people did carry away the daughters of my people. Therefore, in my anger, I did cause my people to come up to war against thy people. So the king of the Lamanites says, we came because you kidnapped our daughters. And now Limhi had heard nothing concerning this matter. Therefore he said, I will search among my people, and whosoever has done this thing shall perish. Therefore he caused a search to be made among his people. Now when Gideon had heard these things, he being the king's captain, he went forth and said unto the king, I pray thee forbear, and do not search this people, and lay not this thing to their charge. So Gideon's the one who, it's interesting because Gideon hated King Limhi's dad. He wanted him dead, but Gideon is the king's captain. So they must have made amends, because even though Limhi was righteous and didn't follow the ways of his dad, it says that he still didn't want his dad to be killed. But Gideon goes and says, do you know what? Please don't search our people. I think I know what happened. So he says, verse 18, for do ye not remember the priests of thy father, whom this people sought to destroy? And are they not in the wilderness? And are they not the ones who have stolen the daughters of the Lamanites? So Gideon is reminding King Limhi, remember those priests of your dads that took off and left their families? Could they not have been the ones that have stolen these girls? And now behold, and tell the king of these things, that he may tell his people, that they may be pacified towards us. For behold, they are already preparing to come against us. And behold, also there are but few of us. And behold, they come with their numerous hosts, and except the king doth pacify them towards us, we must perish. So Gideon's trying to get real with King Limhi and say, go tell this to the king of the Lamanites, because honestly, I don't know if we could survive another battle. They have so many more people than we do, and we were able to get through this one, but if they come again, we're going to die. For are not the words of Abinadi fulfilled, which he prophesied against us, and all this because we would not hearken unto the words of the Lord and turn from our iniquities? I actually really like that Gideon is not just passing the blame onto King Noah. Gideon is owning his own part in that. He says, we didn't turn from our wicked ways. We as a whole people didn't turn from our wicked ways. He's not being prideful, he's being humble and saying that he also could have repented better. And now let us pacify the king, and we fulfill the oath which we have made unto him. For it is better that we should be in bondage than that we should lose our lives. Therefore let us put a stop to the shedding of so much blood. So Gideon's telling King Limhi, just go tell the Lamanite king, it wasn't us. It's better that we are in bondage to them than that we lose our lives. And now Limhi told the king all the things concerning his father, and the priests that had fled into the wilderness, and attributed the carrying away of their daughters to them. And it came to pass that the king was pacified towards his people. And he said unto them, let us go forth to meet my people without arms. And I swear unto you with an oath that my people shall not slay thy people. So he says, can we just talk? We won't even bring weapons. We just want to talk, and I swear we will not hurt you guys. We just need to clear this up. And it came to pass that they followed the king and went forth without arms, so without weapons, to meet the Lamanites. And it came to pass that they did meet the Lamanites, and the king of the Lamanites did bow himself down before them, and did plead in behalf of the people of Limhi. So this was actually really great of the Lamanite king. So he brought Limhi and his people to them, and the king himself bowed down before his own people on behalf of Limhi. And he said, please have compassion on them. So this is actually really amazing that the Lamanite king did this. He went with Limhi to his own people and bowed down before them on behalf of the people of Limhi. And when the Lamanites saw the people of Limhi, that they were without arms, without weapons, they had compassion on them and were pacified towards them and returned with their king in peace to their own land. So it worked. The king of the Lamanites got his own people to soften their hearts towards Limhi and his people.